Adam lies on the ground, his body finally failing after 930 years. The sun darkens above him. The moon fades. Even the stars seem to dim as if creation itself mourns. His son Seth kneels beside him, begging for words, for wisdom, for something to hold on to when his father is gone. But Adam's eyes are somewhere else, somewhere distant, somewhere lost. He's remembering a garden, a perfect garden, where death didn't exist, where everything he needed grew on trees, where he walked with God in the cool of the evening and felt no shame, no fear, no failure. That garden is gone now, guarded by angels with flaming swords, forever closed, forever lost. And as Adam takes his last breath, one question hangs in the cooling air. How did we get here? Act 1. Dust and breath. In the beginning there was nothing. Then God spoke. Light, water, land, plants, sun and moon, fish and birds, animals of every kind. But something was missing. Someone was missing. On the sixth day of creation, God didn't speak this time. He got down in the dirt. He shaped clay with his hands. He formed a figure, arms, legs, torso, head. The figure lay lifeless, just earth, just dust. Then God breathed. Into the nostrils of this clay man, God breathed his own breath. The spirit of the living God entered dead matter. The man's eyes opened. Adam, meaning from the ground, from Adama, the red soil, became a living soul. Not just body, not just matter, a being with God's breath inside him, a being who could reflect, reason, choose. God planted a garden eastward in Eden. Every tree that was pleasant to the sight and good for food grew there. Rivers flowed through it. Gold and precious stones lay in the earth. At the center stood two trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God gave Adam one job: tend the garden, and one rule: you may eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. When you eat from it, you will certainly die. Not if you eat, when. God knew. He already knew. Adam named the animals: elephant, lion, tiger, eagle. Each creature God brought before him, Adam named. But as he named them, a problem emerged. Every creature had a mate, a companion, a partner. Adam had none. It is not good for man to be alone, God said. He put Adam into a deep sleep. While Adam slept, he took one of his ribs, part of his very body, his very bone, and fashioned a woman. When Adam woke, she was there. This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh, Adam said. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. Her name was Eve, Hava in Hebrew, mother of all living. They were naked, and they felt no shame. Act 2. The Serpent's Question. Paradise has a problem. It's perfect, yes, but perfection without choice is just programming. Enter the serpent, more crafty than any beast of the field. Ancient tradition would later identify this serpent as Satan himself, the fallen angel who rebelled when God commanded him to bow to Adam, the angel who said, "Why should I bow to this creature of dust when I am made of light?" The serpent doesn't approach Adam. Adam heard God's command directly. Adam has no excuse. So the serpent goes to Eve. Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? The question is innocent, conversational, curious. Eve corrects him. We may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God did say, you must not eat fruit from the tree in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. Notice what happened. God never said they couldn't touch it. Eve added to God's word. The first step to disobedience is always distortion of what God actually said. The serpent seizes the opening. You will not certainly die, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. 3 lies in 2 sentences. First, that there's no consequence. Second, that God is withholding something good from them. Third, that they can become like God through disobedience. Eve looks at the tree. It's beautiful. The fruit looks delicious. And wisdom, who wouldn't want wisdom? She takes the fruit. She eats. She gives some to Adam, who was with her. He eats. And immediately, everything changes. Act 3. The hiding. Their eyes were opened. The serpent was right about that part, but what they saw wasn't what they expected. They looked down and realized, we're naked, exposed, vulnerable. For the first time in human history, shame entered the world. They grabbed fig leaves, sewed them together, made coverings for themselves. Inadequate coverings. Humanity's first attempt to fix what sin broke. Then they heard it, the sound of God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. The sound that used to bring joy now brings terror. Adam and Eve hide among the trees. Think about that. They're hiding from the God who made them, in the garden He gave them, behind trees He planted. It's absurd. It's heartbreaking. It's us. Where are you? God calls. He knows where they are. The question is for them. Where are you? What have you become? How far have you fallen? Adam answers, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, so I hid. Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from? Watch what happens next, the first blame shifting in human history. Adam, the woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree, and I ate it. Not I sinned, not I disobeyed, but the woman you put here with me. Adam blames Eve. Adam blames God. God turns to Eve. What is this you have done? Eve, the serpent deceived me, and I ate. Down the chain it goes. Adam blames Eve, Eve blames the serpent. No one takes responsibility. God curses the serpent to crawl on its belly, declares eternal enmity between the serpent's offspring and the woman's offspring. One day the woman's seed will crush the serpent's head. The first prophecy of redemption, spoken in the moment of the fall. Then God turns to Eve. I will greatly increase your pains in childbearing. With pain you will bring forth children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. The gift of bringing life will now come with agony. The partnership of marriage will now involve struggle for dominance. To Adam, cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat food from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return. Creation itself rebels against humanity. Work becomes toil. Life becomes survival. Death becomes inevitable. But then something extraordinary happens. God makes garments of skin for Adam and Eve and clothes them. To make garments of skin, something must die. the first blood shed in creation, the first death. God himself provides a covering for sin that Adam and Eve's fig leaves never could. Act 4. Expulsion and loss. The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil, God says. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. So God drives them out of Eden, out of paradise. East of the garden he stations cherubim, mighty angels, and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. The gate closes. It will never open again. Not for Adam, not for Eve, not for any of their children. Adam and Eve stand outside the garden, looking back at what they've lost. Everything was provided. Everything was perfect. Everything was relationship with God. Now they face a world cursed because of their choice. They go west. For 6 days after expulsion, they find no food fit for humans, only what animals eat. They're starving in a world of plenty they can no longer access. Eve suggests penance, 40 days for her, 47 for Adam, standing in rivers, fasting, begging God for mercy. Adam stands in the Jordan River up to his neck for 47 days. On the 18th day, Satan appears to Eve in the form of an angel of light, pretending to comfort her, telling her God has heard their repentance. It's a lie. Satan still can't leave them alone. They leave the rivers. They begin their new life, the life of toil, the life of sweat, the life of thorn and thistle. And Eve becomes pregnant. Act 5. Blood on the ground. Adam and Eve's first son is born. Eve holds him, marveling, and says, "With the help of the Lord, I have brought forth a man." She names him Cain. Later, she bears another son, Abel. The two boys grow. Cain becomes a farmer, working the cursed ground his father told him about. Abel becomes a shepherd, tending flocks, perhaps remembering that God himself shed blood to clothe his parents. In the course of time, both brothers bring offerings to God. Cain brings fruit from the soil, leftover produce, grain, seeds. Abel brings the fat portions from the firstborn of his flock, the best he has. God accepts Abel's offering. God rejects Cain's. The text doesn't explicitly tell us why, but hints emerge. Abel brought the firstborn, the best. Cain brought some fruit. Abel brought faith. Cain brought obligation. Abel's offering required sacrifice. Cain's offering required only harvesting what was already there. The writer of Hebrews will later say, by faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. Cain is furious. His face falls. Jealousy consumes him like fire. God comes to Cain with a warning. Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. It desires you, but you must master it. Sin personified, crouching like a beast, waiting, desiring, ready to devour. Cain doesn't master it. Let's go out to the field, Cain says to Abel. Out where Adam and Eve can't see. Out where there are no witnesses. Out where the earth can swallow secrets. In the field, Cain rises up against his brother. He strikes him. He kills him. The first murder. The first death of a human being. Abel's blood soaks into the ground, the same ground Adam was formed from, the same ground now cursed. God comes to Cain and, "Where is your brother Abel?" "I don't know," Cain lies. "Am I my brother's keeper?" Yes, you are. But Cain has already answered with his actions. "What have you done?" God says. "Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground.
Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you work the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth. Cain protests. My punishment is more than I can bear. You are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer, and whoever finds me will kill me. God marks Cain. The text doesn't say how, but the mark protects him. If anyone kills Cain, he will suffer vengeance 7 times over. Cain leaves. He goes to the land of Nod, meaning wandering, east of Eden. He builds a city, has children. His descendants become craftsmen, musicians, metalworkers. But they're marked by violence. Lamech, Cain's descendant, will boast of killing a man who wounded him, declaring 77-fold vengeance. Sin multiplies. Act 6, the replacement. Adam and Eve mourn. They've lost both sons, Abel to death, Cain to exile. The earth is emptier now, darker. Then Eve conceives again. At age 130, Adam fathers another son. They name him Seth, meaning appointed or granted, because Eve says, God has granted me another child in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. Seth is different. Seth is righteous. Where Cain's line produces violence, Seth's line produces faith. Seth has a son named Enosh, and the text says, at that time, people began to call on the name of the Lord. The two lines diverge. Cainites build cities, forge weapons, create art, but drift from God. Sethites walk with God, pray, worship. Adam lives to see 9 generations of his descendants. He sees the world filled with people. He sees sin spread. He sees violence multiply. He sees the consequences of that one choice in the garden ripple across centuries. Seth grows old, and Adam, according to later tradition, reveals to him secret knowledge, how the world was created, why humanity fell, what God promised about redemption, knowledge that would eventually be collected in the mystical traditions of Judaism. Act 7, the long dying. Adam is 930 years old. His body, which once bore the image of God in uncorrupted form, is failing. The process of returning to dust that God promised has been happening for centuries, and now it's nearly complete. Eve is still alive. Her age isn't recorded, but she's ancient. Their children and grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren surround them. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of descendants. Seth begs his father for any final words, for wisdom, for hope. Adam recounts the story of the fall once more. The garden, the tree, the serpent, the choice that cost them everything. Eve, desperate, sends Seth back to the gates of Eden. Go ask for oil from the tree of life, she tells him. Perhaps God will have mercy. Perhaps he'll heal your father. Seth makes the journey east, to the gates guarded by cherubim and flaming swords. On the way, the serpent attacks him, biting his heel, fulfillment in a small way of God's prophecy that there would be enmity between the serpent and the woman's seed. Seth commands the serpent to leave in God's name. It flees. At the gates, the archangel Michael appears. No, he says, the oil of the tree of life is not for now. But in the last days, God will send his Son, and he will anoint all who believe with the oil of mercy. Your father must die as God decreed. Seth returns with this message. Mercy is coming, but not yet. Adam must face what all humanity will face. Adam dies. The sun, moon, and stars darken for 7 days, as if creation itself goes into mourning. Michael takes Adam's soul, holding it until the day of judgment when sorrow will be transformed to joy. God and angels bury Adam's body in the earth he came from. They bury Abel's body beside him, father and murdered son, together in the ground. 6 days later, Eve feels death approaching. She gathers her children. By this time, according to tradition, she has borne 20 sets of twins and countless others. She tells them her story one final time. She warns of a judgment to come by water, then by fire. Then Eve dies, praying. The angels bury her next to Adam. Michael tells Seth, "This is how you shall bury all who die until the day of resurrection." Epilogue. The shadow that remains. The story of Adam and Eve doesn't end with their deaths. It echoes through every generation. Seth's son lives to 912 years. His son Enosh to 905 years. Generation after generation lives to extraordinary ages. Methuselah, Noah's grandfather, will live 969 years, the longest human lifespan ever recorded. But after the flood, lifespans plummet. By Abraham's time, people live less than 200 years. By Moses' time, 70 or 80 is considered old. The world Adam and Eve knew, where people lived 9 centuries, fades into legend. But their legacy remains. Every human being who has ever lived descended from them. Every person who has ever felt shame, fear, or inadequacy inherited it from them. Every person who has ever hidden from God walked in their footsteps.
Theologians will spend millennia debating their story. Was it literal, allegorical, historical, mythological? The Catholic Church teaches they were real people, personally responsible for original sin. Judaism sees them as the foundation of human choice and consequence. Islam presents them as equally responsible for their sin, with no gender hierarchy and blame. Artists paint them. Michelangelo immortalizes their creation on the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Milton writes Paradise Lost, 10,000 lines of epic poetry exploring their story. Twain writes satirical diaries for them. Countless authors retell their tale. Because their story is our story. We stand in gardens of opportunity and abundance, yet we grasp for the one thing forbidden. We blame others for our choices. We hide from God while God seeks us. We try to cover our shame with fig leaves of our own making, inadequate and brittle. But here's what the story of Adam and Eve ultimately reveals. Even in judgment, God provides. Even in exile, God clothes. Even in death, God promises resurrection. Even in the fall, God prophesies redemption. The serpent will have his head crushed. The woman's seed, one descended from Eve, will destroy the destroyer. God himself will become that seed, born of a woman, to undo what the first Adam did. The garden may be closed, the flaming sword may bar the way, but the story doesn't end at the gates of Eden. It ends with another tree, another garden, another Adam who succeeds where the first failed, who, facing temptation, says, "Not my will, but yours," who dies on a tree to give humanity access to the tree of life once more. The gates of Eden are closed, but Revelation promises they'll open again. In the new creation, the tree of life will grow not in one place, but on both sides of a river. It will bear fruit every month, not once a year. Its leaves will heal the nations. What Adam and Eve lost, Christ restores. What sin destroyed, grace rebuilds. What death claimed, resurrection reclaims. Adam lived 930 years and returned to dust, but the story he began is still unfolding. Every choice we make echoes that first choice. Every time we blame others, we speak in Adam's voice. Every time we hide from God, we crouch behind Eden's trees. But every time we choose obedience over rebellion, faith over doubt, truth over deception, we begin the journey back to the garden. The story of Adam and Eve is the story of paradise lost, but it's also the first chapter in the story of Paradise Regained.